Be that way.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Oh, Kick, you're doing it to me again, Kick. Damn Kick. Always a problem with Kick. Always a problem.
Damn good coffee and hot.
Oh, yeah, it's damn good coffee and hot. You know what? We need to live stream on WDOG, Live 365, and iHeartRadio. Good morning, folks. It is Monday, March 27th, 2023. Do you know where your children are? Not really. Anyway, I hope you had a great weekend. It is springtime here in America. Spring is finally sprung. Although the weatherman lies. There's a point where you stop giving the benefit of the doubt that weather can change, and I think sometimes the weathermen just lie to you. They're just mischievous little bastards. They kind of giggle. They say, "Yeah, tell them it's going to be beautiful out," and even though they know it's going to be rainy and crappy all day. And that's what happened on Sunday. On Saturday. They set me up for just like excited to be, spring fever, all that stuff. And then they threw a damper on it. And I think it was by design, not just an accident, not like the weatherman getting it wrong. The weatherman being a dick. That's what it was. Anyway, I'm glad to have you here today. Erica Rhodes is going to be with me here today at 10:15. 10:15, you say, don't the guests come on at 9:15? You make exceptions. That's all I can say. You make exceptions. I do anyway. I've been trying to get Erica on the program for about a year now. We've had her on the Christine Levine fundraiser back in August for a short time. But get to talk to her a little bit one-on-one today, and looking forward to that. A lot of stuff going on this weekend. I got a letter I want to read to you because it's typical of the kind of stuff I've been getting lately, and I thought it made me laugh. Anyway, I also promised to talk about this at some point during the first hour of this program. This is something I'll just save it for a while. Just as people start waking up and turning on their radio and getting in the flow. Now, of course, the people on the radio can't see when I say this. I'm showing a picture of me from Friday night playing a guitar in a very nice place called the Garden Grill in Smithtown, Long Island. And there's a young lady standing next to me holding two fingers up, which is like almost a backwards peace sign, but I don't know what it's like, half giving the middle finger, just backwards peace sign. I don't know what the hell it is, but there's a story behind it. And at some point, we may get to that story. I promise you, it's a weird one. Anyway, and in weird news, Wall Street Journal, well, not so weird news. Wall Street Journal has a story today about the risks of marijuana for older people like me. I don't know. Yeah, I'm an old guy. And I know what the risks are. The risks are, now what they're trying to say is the legalization of marijuana and the proliferation of CBD use is causing some complications for seniors who are on lots of medications. I, fortunately, am not on a lot of medications. The only thing I have taken in recent memory is THC or cannabinoid products. But for many people my age, they're on a load of pills. And being on a load of pills and you get high. Of course, it can complicate things. You got a little bit going on from the pill stuff anyway, and but a lot of people are falling, um, getting confused. It can happen. You're already kind of hazed out by whatever drugs you're on, and you get some good reefer on top of that. You can definitely get confused, lost, all that kind of stuff. So it is something to consider. Now, one of the things I'm noticing, and I know it doesn't behoove me to talk about this in public because I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But I can't help but notice the idea behind legalization. Well, one of the ideas. There's a whole lot that goes into that, and you know all that stuff. But one of the ideas is that tax it and the revenue can help the economy and reduce taxes other places, right? That's part of the movement for the reason states have been legalizing stuff. But if I go to a dispensary and it's not a medical dispensary, I'm paying cash over the counter, no receipt. Nobody's paying taxes on this stuff. Nobody's really controlling the inventory. It was different at the dispensary. Now, at the dispensary, tax was, calculated into, and that was a medical thing. I had to use it. I had to have a medical card. Now it's just stores. You just walk into a store, buy stuff. How much? Yeah, $20 cash. Okay. They're not paying taxes. And so that defeats part of the purpose, a big part of the purpose of this stuff. The other part, of course, is to kind of take the business away from the criminals. But it doesn't seem that that's the case either. It seems like, you know, yeah, anytime you try to do anything positive, it's like the corrupt people will I'm trying very hard. I don't know if you noticed this already. There has not been one F bomb yet. We are 7 minutes into the program, 7.5 minutes into the program, and I have not dropped an F bomb yet. I'm trying hard not to. And the F bomb meter is busted. I thought about breaking out the F bomb meter again to keep track of stuff. I am pitching the show to terrestrial radio. um, and in order to do that, I have to prove that I can get through an hour without dropping F bombs, or 2 hours, or 4 hours, or whatever it might be. As you know, we are on live 365 radio and iHeart Radio. And funny, this morning I was listening. You're not going to hear radio like this. I heard a Rodney Dangerfield bit. Now, a lot of the stuff is pre-programmed at this point. We're not doing live DJs, but we will be. Uh, Rodney Dangerfield, followed by Steely Dan, followed by George Jones, followed by Carly Simon. You're not going to hear radio like this. Then a Doug Stanhope minute, and then Rockin' 45. So I threw one of me in there in the list for. Now, this is interesting. Um, last night, wasn't last night or night, one of these days just flow together. You lose track of the days. Saturday night, I think it was Saturday night, on YouTube, doing what I do. And then I found a playlist of soul music. I think it was soul music. And it was like Otis Redding and Gladys Knight, Ray Charles, Van Morrison, which, okay, I kind of. And then me. And I had no part in putting that playlist together. Um, and I'm thrilled to be included with some of those people, but I never thought of myself as a soul musician. And speaking of music, on that same YouTube journey, I found a clip that startled me. I clicked into it because of the headline that somebody was accusing Bob Dylan of stealing all all of Bob Dylan's greatest songs, literally plagiarizing all of them, from Blowing in the Wind to The Times They Are Changing to Like a Rolling Stone, all the big hits, all of Dylan's big hits, supposedly plagiarized from this guy, James Damiano. And what you get is some freaky Marianne Williamson type of person. That's the best way I could describe her. Marianne Williamson type of person. Crazy. It's a good way to describe her. Dancing around, talking about how this guy James Damiano was ripped off, and showing like out of context clips of Elliot Mintz, who was Dylan's lawyer, he was John Lennon's lawyer, in a deposition, answering some questions with one word answers, yes and no, and that was her proof. Now the questions weren't like, um, did Dylan steal? Bob Dylan did not steal this music. First of all, James Damiano. You've listened. I've listened to some of the tracks and basic of the original tracks that was supposedly ripped off. Just a weird old dude strumming a guitar. But it seems to be getting some traction now. There's a lawsuit suing Bob Dylan. Why wait 60 years? It's been 60 years since Dylan came on the scene. Why wait 60 years to bring up a lawsuit to try to, and obviously it's not going anywhere because nobody else is hearing about it. But the idea that one of our greatest, and I'll say that Dylan has been known to show up at a recording studio, like Nashville Skyline. He didn't have all the songs written. He had the studio players sitting in the studio while he wrote the songs. James Damiano wasn't around. So either Dylan was being a very good actor, which he is not the greatest actor. We've seen him in film. Or he was actually writing the songs. So make of that what you will. It's just, it's crazy how people hold on to things. But 60 years, man, give up on that one. Speaking of 60 years, on Wednesday night, I have a conspiracy theorist on, a moon landing conspiracy theorist. Shocking, right? Somebody who thinks we faked the moon landing. Where have you heard that before? The moon landing nonsense has been debunked so many times by so many people that even Joe Rogan gave up on the moon landing was faked conspiracy theory. I mean, it takes a lot for Rogan to give up on a conspiracy theory. It's like getting Alex Jones to come clean on some stuff. It takes a lot. It's almost a miracle. So if Rogan gave up on the moon landing thing years ago, why are other people still trying to drag it out? Well, and I know I'm pledged to try to keep an open mind about this thing, but the only incentive for doing this stuff is that, you're basically trying to make money, trying to sell a book, trying to sell a film, trying to sell a documentary, something like that. But I'm going to give it a fair shake. I'm going to have the guy on Wednesday night. We're going to talk about why he believes this conspiracy theory that has been debunked thousands of times is still worth clinging to. And it might get a little contentious. You might want to watch that one or listen to that one. But anyway. So that should be a fun one. I'm going to take a very quick break here and play sponsors piece for you, and I will be right back. I'm just going to freshen up my coffee. I'll be right back. We got a long show today. Stick with us. This episode is brought to you by Koa Coffee. If you are a coffee connoisseur and want to experience the best coffee Hawaii has to offer, no blends, no compromise, try the true taste of aloha. Koa Coffee produces premium Hawaiian coffee, hand-picked, expertly roasted, and delivered from Hawaii to your door with aloha. award-winning 100% Kona coffee grown on the slopes of the Mauna Loa volcano to the unique mocha beans of Maui, they strive to provide their loyal customers with the best quality and freshness. Since 1997, Koa Coffee has been known far and wide as a product of utmost quality, and their awards prove it. Koa Coffee was featured in Forbes' Top 10 Coffees of the World. This is the coffee Forbes called the best coffee in America. Find out what it's all about. Go to minddogtv.com/coffee.
This is Jake Jolly, director of Clay Zombies, and you are listening to the best in radio, the big dog of the airwaves, Mind Dog Radio.
Well, thank you for that, Jake. Just looking over weird and odd news from AP. This woman, Margaret Atwood, she was an author, or is she an author? Who sued Filippo Bernidi, I don't know who that is, who impersonated hundreds of people over the course of a scheme that began in August 2016 to defraud authors and editors and publishing companies. Woman ripped off many, many authors and stole rights to books and stuff, and she avoided jail time completely. You know, authors, oh man, you think comedians have it hard. And they do. They do. Comedians do have it hard in today's world. I'm not saying they don't. But authors, man, what a tough road it is to get published in today's world. To get published at all is a difficult thing. Oftentimes, authors are having to go to self-publishing and lay out lots of money. You talk about pay per play for musicians and comedians and people in the arts. You know, we're having to sell tickets to perform. This is some big stuff. And without naming any names, there's a publishing company called Black Rose Publishing Company, without naming any names, that has authors on it or in their roster, without naming any names, who pass themselves off as legitimate authors when they are really, really not. There is no scrutiny on their work whatsoever before getting published. It's like self-publishing. Like, I just decided to publish myself. But what you do is you basically send your manuscript to somebody, Black Rose, who creates the book and then sells them to you, and you have to sell them. You're under a contract to sell a certain number to your friends and family. And let's say you were a fan of an old cop TV show or something, or a private investigative TV show, and you just took a transcript of that verbatim and put in some of your friends' names and send that manuscript off. And then you get a contract that says you have to buy 75 of these books at this price, and the only way you can ever get your money back is to sell them to your friends. And then this is the scheme that many authors are faced with, and some of them actually take them up on it. And then they get hooked into this idea of, I not only signed for one book, I signed for 3 books or 5-book deal, and they end up taking a second mortgage on their house to support their phony author career habit. And this is one of those schemes. Not only does that hurt legitimate authors and publishers, it hurts everyone. It hurts the public. It's a serious. It doesn't seem serious. It's not like raping kids. It's not like robbing banks. But it takes a lot out of the economy. It is definitely a serious white-collar crime. And to not get even probation or anything on it, I don't know, it feels like the justice system fails us a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that frustration with the justice system in America. But when it comes to the arts and stuff and creative people, I'm a little more sensitive to stuff like that. The Madoff stuff and all those people go to jail for white collar crimes. That's bad. When it gets into the arts, it hits home. Let's see here what happens. Uh, well, maybe I'll read you this letter I got, and maybe Wednesday this person will be happy. The letter comes from somebody named Kimberly. Last name A. I'm not going to say her last name because I don't want people looking her up on social media and giving her a hard time. The letter starts off, "Dear Dog Brain." Kind of sets the tone, don't you think? "Dear Dog Brain." This isn't going to be a fan letter, is it? "Dear Dog Brain, I have listened to you since the WNYG overnights. I was 12 years old when I became a fan." 12 years old. I had a lot of kids back in the day. I should say that. During the overnights, especially in the summertime, local radio, because we only. I'll get into it after the letter. I'll tell you the NYG story. I was 12 years old when I became a fan. I started listening to your morning show religiously about a year ago. Religiously. I love getting to know a lot of comedians that you featured. That's nice. See, so far it does sound like a fan mail, right? Sounds nice. I miss the days when you had a lot of paranormal writers on, and it seems you've done a complete 360 on sharing those kinds of books and films with your audience. That's a shame. Well, we do have a conspiracy theory guy on Wednesday night. The nighttime program, I've scaled down to one show a week. I was doing 7 shows a week during pandemic and stuff, and then scaled back to 5, and then just decided I was having more fun, enjoying the morning show more than. And plus, I've talked. If you're from the NYG days, I've talked to everybody about everything. And how many times can you have the same conversation? How many times can you talk about failed moon or fake moon landing? One more. That's the answer to that one. Recently, somebody shared a social media post from where you were really mean to the fans of Willy Wonka. I am telling you, this Willy Wonka stuff. Now, this was months ago. It feels like it had to be 6 months ago. Some actress posted on Twitter a really dramatic parody, I guess you could call it, of Willy Wonka, and she was crying, and I was just like, "What is this serious?" And people were trying to clue me in, like it's Willy Wonka. I was like, "How would I know that? Well, don't you know Willy Wonka?" No, I never watched the movie. Man, did that spawn some hate? Kristen Becker, holy crap! I've been very supportive of Kristen Becker, but the fact that I did not know about Willy Wonka, I don't know, that triggered something in her that everything she did not like about me came bubbling up into a series of, you know, insulting tweets. And I still like Kristen. She's a good comedian. She deserves her support. I'm not putting her down. But the idea of people get so wrapped up in Willy Wonkaism that if you don't know about it, you are Satan. It's confusing to me. I don't watch remakes, so the Johnny Depp thing, I didn't even know the Johnny Depp thing existed. But I did try to go back and watch the original because so many people were angry about me not knowing Willy Wonka, and I promise you, I made a good faith effort. I went and I rented it, I think, from one of the streaming networks. I put it on, and I promise you, I did not make it 3 minutes into the film, and that's being very generous. Um, it just put me right to sleep with kids fucking singing. There goes the radio fucking bitch. Two F bombs in the space of 20 seconds blew it right there. I definitely got to have the F bomb meter reinstalled, I guess. But kids singing and going to the candy shop and buying chocolate. It's like, well, okay, what do people see in this movie? And before you know it, I could hear myself snoring. So, okay, recently you shared a social media post where you were really mean to fans of Willy Wonka. Actually, I was not. The meanness was the other way. All I said was I don't know this movie. I was a little mean to the girl who was being, you know, melodramatic about Willy Wonka. Like, really, come on. Wasn't mean though. I didn't say she's that kind of idiot. F bomb. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to ever make it through an hour without saying it. I'm too conditioned. I do it all the time on the evening program. I get through the evening program because we're having serious conversations, and that's not just me talking. Uh, well, William's in the chat room. He says, I'm going to say this, what it says here. 3 minutes is not giving a movie a chance. I give any movie at least 20 minutes to show me something. No, I would give it 20 minutes if I could. I gave it a good faith chance and it put me to sleep. You can't you can't blame a guy for being bored to tears in 3 minutes. I gave it the best. If they would have given me some reason to keep my eyes open, I would. Anyway, so you were really mean to fans of Willy Wonka. I was not. They were mean to me. Do you realize that you are losing fans with this kind of meanness? I lose fans with no matter what. I could say hello. I can go down the name of people who were a list of names of people who are boycotting this program over the stupidest nonsense. What am I going to do? Like walk on eggshells with every word I say? And I was not mean to the Willy Wonka people. They were angry with me for not knowing the movie. And she said, "Why would you do that?" Well, I guess maybe I'm just a mean, ugly person. I'd really love to hear why you felt it necessary to attack fans of the film. I'm not attacking fans of the film. If you like the film, that's fine. I just don't understand the appeal of the film and the fact that I don't know about it because I have not watched it and I've made an effort to watch it. I I I could make a second effort to watch it if that will make people happy about me and Willy Wonka. I don't know what can I say. The music sucked. Now I'm attacking the film, not the fans of the film. To me, the music was childish music, children's music, and it was about kids. Now, let me just, in my own defense here again, and I said this online at the time, and I don't know, this is kind of why Becker was kind of all over me. At the time that movie came out, let's put things in perspective here. That movie came out when I was going through puberty. Somebody at puberty does not want to be associated with kids stuff, boy, children's stuff. It felt like children's stuff anyway. And you didn't want to be associated with family stuff, anything mom and dad thought was wholesome at that point in your life. You're like, no. So that's when the original came out. So I didn't have any interest in the film. At that point, I was, 12, 13 years old. I was more interested in trying to sneak into porn theaters, to be honest with you. Porn theaters, what are those? And that's being perfectly honest with you. I mean, that's what I was interested in. I was not so by the time I grew up, like that was an old movie already, and like what why go back and see it? Now, I understand at some point a remake came out, Johnny Depp. I'm not a big remake fan of anything. As a general rule, I don't go to see remakes. I just don't. I can think of 2 remakes that I've seen. One, I didn't know was a remake. It was Heaven Can Wait, which is a remake of the movie Here Comes Mr. Jordan, which is why I didn't know it was a remake. It had a completely different title, and I thought it was an original film, and I had never even heard of Here Comes Mr. Jordan. Well, it turns out to be my father's favorite film from when he was a kid or a young man. So, that's one of them, and the other one was A Star Is Born with, Streisand and Christopherson, because I was a Christopherson fan, and, I had never seen the Gregory Peck, Judy Garland original of A Star Is Born. Other than that, I can't think of any other remakes I've ever watched, and generally they don't appeal to me. So I never saw Willy Wonka. That makes me a bad guy. Now I'm not attacking I don't know where she got this. We're losing fans with that. I have been mean to people and lost some fans because of meanness. I've lost some friends because of my meanness and my attitude. Not going to mention any names here this morning, but most of that has to do with calling somebody a Jehovah when all he really wants to do is talk about love and kumbaya. Anyway, that's the one that comes to mind anyway. So I don't have any justification for why I feel it necessary. Quote, I'm quoting Kimberly now. Feel it necessary to attack fans of the film. I don't feel it necessary to attack fans of the film, and I'm sorry if you feel attacked. I really do. I promise you, it was not my intention to attack fans of Willy Wonka. Can we move on from that? Now, what I'm showing for the people on the radio side, again, I'm back to this image covering my ugly face right now with a picture of my ugly face. This is from the Garden Grill Friday night. Um, Acoustic gig, just me and Mikey. And well, just to start out with, this is kind of a tough thing for somebody to admit. Friday was a very long day for me. I'm hedging talking about this. Wow, look at me. And look, coffee floating here. Um, Friday was a very long day. The day started for me around 5 a.m. working. And then I did a show, and then I had more work to do, and I had 2 shoots, one for Tasting New York, and then another one that was a commercial for a restaurant. Look at my hands going. This is kind of cool. I'm keeping the picture up here for a moment. And so it was a busy day, and I had a gig, an early gig that night, and did not have time in between the last restaurant shoot, which was very hot in the kitchen and sweating. Did not have time to go home and take a shower before the gig. A little bit unkempt and a little bit raw. I stunk. I needed a shower. And I knew that. But it was only an acoustic gig, and it was just me and Mikey, and nobody was going to get close to me. And that was kind of cool. Although this idea in the back of my head now that I need a shower was guaranteeing. Look at I'm loving the way the hands go around the picture like this. Was guaranteeing that at least in my mind, it would only get worse through the night, and it did. And we were playing along, and I chomped down a couple of edibles, and it was hot in there like it always is, and room was kind of packed and people dancing, and then so I could smell myself after every song. I was sweating, and I could smell myself getting worse as the night goes on. And then this lady here pictured in this video, she got up and she started dancing with people. You generally give us a little credit here. People don't generally get up and dance a full room dancing to just an acoustic guitar and a singer or 2 singers. But we have them up dancing for 3.5 hours. Anyway, she got up and she was dancing, and we were playing Love Song with my song, Love Song, which is kind of, if you know the song, kind of dirty. Dirty in a in a innocent television broadcast friendly kind of way. In other words, it doesn't say any profanity. Profanities are all bleeped out. It is suggestive, dirty. And we're playing that song. And Mikey sings it. And this girl was dancing close to Mike. And then I started in with the joke stuff that I do in there, like, cause it's a, do you want to get naked in the back of my truck? And then he goes to saying, come on, baby, let's, and I stop him, and then I break in with some really corn shtick jokes. Hey, I hear you got a little one, your truck that is. You park it in the rear. You look like the kind of guy who likes to park it in the rear. Those kind of jokes. And she took she noticed me then and wanted to come over and dance with me. Now, in the back of my mind, and not just in the back of my mind, in my nose and in my brain, I stink like a garbage dump on fire. And I'm looking at her like, you don't want to dance with me. You don't want to come near me. You don't want to get close to me. And she's getting closer and closer. And I'm like using the guitar to kind of keep her away. Like, you don't want to get near me. But she was insisting. She was getting closer and closer. And then she comes over and she's putting her head on my chest. And I'm like, man, how are you not passing out? I'm ready to pass out from my own stink. And it's my stink. And she was dealing with it. And she was having fun. And you can see the big smile on her face in this picture. She's enjoying it, enjoying my stink. So the song ends, and we go into the next song. And I notice to my left that her husband is up, and he is not happy. He's an angry man. And he looks like Charles Manson, but a bigger, much bigger, tougher, harder version of Charles Manson. And he's yelling at her loudly, and he's got a fist and a finger in the face and yelling at her. And she's just looking like bored, like she's been through this before. But obviously, this guy is trying to tell her how to behave. He's not happy with her behavior in public, but he's in public, and it looks like we're gonna have to. It's gonna be a legality in a moment. Like he's gonna hit her, and we're gonna have to do something, and cops are gonna have to be called. All that kind of stuff. This is all going through my mind, and he's getting louder and more aggressive, more agitated, and she's just sitting there bored with it. I'm gonna take the picture down now. Like I think I can take the picture down. Can I take the picture down? Yes, I can take the picture down. Anyway, so finally he says something to her, and it looks like he's gonna hit her. And then she just turned. She finally got tired of being bored, and she just turned to him and said something, and he broke out hysterical laughing. And Mikey looked at me. I said, "I know exactly what she said to him." She said, "I'm not gonna have sex with that guy. Anyway, he stinks." That's what she said to him, and that's what made him laugh like that. And I don't blame her for saying that. But then she came back over by me for the next song, which was the end of the night. But and my brother, I told my brother the story. He said, "No, you're imagining that stuff. She wasn't saying you stink." I like, no, I think she said I stink. I wouldn't blame her. Listen, I this is the first time in my life I've ever gone to a show. I I kind of smell nice. I'm a nice smelling guy. I kind of pride myself on smelling nice, but this night I smelled like a garbage dump on fire. Anyway, so I guess the moral of the story is if an angry husband gets mad at you because he thinks his wife wants to do you, just assure him that you stink. Let him get a whiff of you, and you'll, I don't know, placate the situation a little bit. I did, and I forgot to put my brace on. I have a brace I got to get. I'm probably gonna play another commercial soon so I can go get my brace. For the first, I've had physical problems on gigs my whole life, but I never had one stop me from being able to play until Friday night, almost the end of the night, last 3 songs or so. We were doing something, and I just stopped halfway through the song. I said, "I can't do it anymore." My hand was locked up, carpal tunnel. I think I've said this before. In 2000, I want to say 2005, 2006, we played on a beach on Labor Day weekend in with a tent overhead, but no sides to the tent, on a beach during a hurricane where I had intense sciatica, a fever of 102, and a broken tooth, and played the entire gig. So I've been through some physical and tough struggles physically and gotten through gigs. That's how bad it had to be for me to say I can't anymore. I couldn't play anymore. My hand was locked up. It was basically useless. It was a club. And I had to sit down. Mikey's telling people, "Well, we got 3 more songs. You better slow down." And I'm just trying. I had to sit down and kind of do some meditation, trying to get my hand sort of workable, and then try to play without a thumb. Because I was just trying to play without trying to put any pressure on my thumb. Because I knew the minute I put any pressure on the thumb, my hand would lock up again and would start up again. I'd just be useless. And I love playing small shows, acoustic shows like that, because I feel like we can do anything. But the negative part of this is you are the whole band. Me, you is me in this situation. I is you. And if I can't play, the show stops. If that happened with the full band, could kind of depend on just the other guys in the band keeping it together while I, found a way. But that doesn't happen with an acoustic set. If I can't play, the music stops, and people get angry. People in the room, "Oh, what happened? One more song." We've been playing for 3.5 hours straight at that point, not taking any breaks, and we got them spoiled. Uh, oh, Carl is with us. Good morning, Carl. This is the end. This is the end, my beautiful friend. Willy Wonka is great apart from Johnny Depp version because he's awful. Is he awful? I don't know. Uh, my guess is not. William Conway says, "Where's your guest?" If you read the promos, my guest is not scheduled to be here until 10:15. Um, I make exceptions. I make exceptions when I've been chasing a guest around for a year and finally get her to say yes. If you're with me on Friday, I was pretty down. And here's a segue about this. So, uh, Randy Levy, who's a comedian, local comedian, he was at my gig Friday night, and as I'm setting up, he came over and talked to me. And for some reason, he was really interested in my finances. But that aside, maybe I'll talk about that later. He said he's really been enjoying the comedians I've been having on at all levels, pros and people who are just starting out and all. And he wanted to know who my favorite guest was. I, my initial thought, right, I wanted to say Stanhope, but if I'm honest, the interviews with Stanhope were probably my suckiest work. They weren't good because none of them, and Stanhope has been on several times, but it's never been the best conversation I had with Stanhope was when he was in bed at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. during the Andy when he called in with his little nightcaps on his eyes. That was the best one. But I haven't had a really solid interview with Doug Stanhope. I was extremely happy to have him on, but I can't say he was my best guest. And I was struggling to think like who was my best interview, my favorite interview, and I couldn't come up with one. So I just said simply my next one, not knowing that my next one would be Erica Rhodes. And I thought, well, that's pretty good because I was thinking about taking off this week, not even having a show today. But then Saturday, I talked to Erica, and she is playing. This is important. She is performing 5 shows this week. I believe it's 5. Oh, what happened to my voice? Got high. I just Jordan Peterson uh, took over my body there for a second. Possessed me. She'll be at the Midnight Theater in Manhattan on Thursday night for a 7:15 show. 7:15. Who starts shows at 7:15? And then at Brokerage at Belmore, Long Island, for 2 shows on Friday night. I'm not sure if it's 2 on Saturday night, but there's at least 1 on Saturday night. I would think there'd be 2 on Saturday night too, for a total of 5 shows. I will be at the Brokerage in Belmore. The early show? Yes. So, I'm glad I did not decide to take off this week completely and just, give up on have a burnout week. I still may for other parts of this week. Last night I did, or over the weekend, Andy will be with us. I did some booking. Andrews will be with us next week, and Henry Phillips will be coming back. I want to say it's in April too. I want to say 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Look at the calendar. 3 weeks. Henry will be back with us 3 weeks. Now, honestly, I think Henry was one of the best interviews I've done. If I had to feel, but there have been many not with comedians. So Kenny Aronoff, drummer from John Mellencamp, for me and for my musician friends, I think that was a really, really productive interview. A lot of good information came in from Kenny, and some great insights. And that's what Carl says. This sounds like your fan tweets to her. What does? Me announcing her dates? I don't know if you want to clear that up and elaborate on that, Carl. You're welcome to pop in. We guys still have a half hour before. Do we have a half hour? About a half hour before she comes in. She's probably still sleeping because I looked at this morning. I looked at Twitter. I think I said something, and there was a tweet from her. Why am I always wide awake? And that was only from a couple of hours ago. So I should take a real quick break here and get my brace and put it on so that my carpal tunnel starts to hear. Carl says, I'm firmly horizontal. William says Dante was pretty good. Dante was a good interview. Definitely a good interview. Yeah, but put me on the spot. Who's your favorite one? Jeez. So all I could say was my next one, not knowing that it would be right. But yeah, no, there have been a lot of really good ones. I'm not saying there haven't been many inspirational ones, but being put on the spot, who was the best interview, and who was my favorite one? That's a tough one. And favorite people, I'd have to say Andy. Andy, for everything, one of my favorite people to have on. And he's always good when he's on. He always brings funny besides just, not here just for serious chat or small talk. Andy always brings the funny with him. So Andy's always a great guest to have on. And I don't think it was necessary. I've ever done like the very first time I had Andy on. It was a pretty good interview wise. But anyway. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to play a song. How about that? I'm going to play a song while I go and put on my brace, my brace, and maybe I'll get some fresh coffee. Well, let me think. How long do I need to do this? So I'll put on a decent amount of time song. Let's see here. All these songs suck. The problem with being me is my songs suck. I'm gonna play. See, I hate all these songs. I'll play the Only Lonely Boy in New York City. I'm not gonna play the whole thing though. It won't take the whole thing. I'll be right back. Stick with us. Lot to go.
Waiting is the hardest thing to do. You want love and you want it now, but someone gonna have to explain it to you, to get it through your silly head somehow. I know you think you heard it all before, but you better listen to me when I say I'm not the only lonely boy in New York City who happens to feel that way. I'm not the only lonely boy in New York City. And you're down, waiting for the man to come. Candy's gonna make you numb. You don't wanna feel a thing. You got to move when moving is the only thing to do. No one's gonna stop you now, and I don't have the time to explain it to you, 'cause I know you got it all figured out. And you think you heard it all before, but you better listen to me when I say I'm not the only lonely boy in New York City. We've all got a price to pay. You're not the only lonely boy in New York City.
You know, I'm not sure I'm happy.
And you're down. Waiting for the light to change. Candy's gonna kill the pain, and you don't wanna feel a thing.
You can't. You just turn it off like that. I think I broke my brace. My wife is going to be really upset with me. You're supposed to pull the Velcro really hard, and I overdid it. But maybe I can do this, right? Yes. Well, no, I can't. Ah, boy, I'm going to be in trouble tonight. Well, it's not like it can't be repaired, but it's just I don't like being yelled at. You know, oh, that works. It works. I got it to work. That's a good thing. Who's my dream guest? William Conway wants to know. Dream guest. Well, see, that's the thing. After Stanhope came on, that was it. That was Moby Dick for me. Moby Dick. By the way, happy birthday, Doug Stanhope. A little belated. His birthday was Saturday, I believe. So, yeah, right now, who would I love to have on the most? Well, from the comedy world, or by the way, April 1st, Saturday night. Generally, I'm known for being, a prankster. Not a good prankster, but a prankster on April 1st. And the last 2 years ago, I said I was going to have Bruce Springsteen on it April 1st. And people believed that. A lot of people showed up like, where's Bruce? Where's Bruce? No Bruce. And then last year, Paul McCartney. And even I had Andy on that morning, April 1st last year. It was a Friday morning. And even up to that point, he was believing that I was going to have Paul McCartney on that night, even though the date is April 1st. This year, I don't have a show on April 1st. So it leaves me without a good bullshit guest, because that was an easy one, just to say I have like some celebrity. Who is my dream guest? I'm avoiding the question because I don't know at this point. I guess David Tell. That's the one. That's the one. David Tell is my new white whale. Get me David Tell. J.P. Leonard posted a picture of David Tell 1 year ago today, where JP performed with him in Baton Rouge, and I was thinking, wow, get me David Tell. That's who I'd really like to. Now that would be it would sound like two Long Island guys talking. David Tell is the epitome of what Long Island guys are all about. I mean, you don't forget Billy Joel. David Tell is Long Island. Even though I bet you most people my age, on Long Island don't even know David Tell. Anyway, I guess that's my dream guest. I know probably doesn't excite a lot of people, like, but and again, people my age, a lot of people my age probably don't even know David Tell. This is one of the things I want to talk to Erica about. I've noticed over my career, if you call it a career, do you call it a career? I don't know. I've noticed, and it took 50 years to notice, of course, and so maybe she hasn't had that opportunity being younger. When I first started performing, the crowds were my age. I started at 15, 16 years old, and the people who came to see us were 15 and 16 years old. Got into my 20s, and people were in their 20s but still younger than that. As I got older, around 40, I noticed people still my age. The crowds now who coming to see us were 40. They got older with us. But at 40, something very odd started to happen. I kept getting older, and the crowds kept staying 40 years old. Like they were replacing people, obviously. And there are still a few old lady cougars. I mean, old ladies, even for me. But as I got older, the crowds just kept staying around 40. And still to this day, the majority of our crowd, the people who come to see us, especially like when we have these big beach shows and there are thousands of people, the majority of those people are 40, 35 to 50 at the most. So at some point, you start out, your crowd you're playing to is your age the whole time, and then you get to a certain plateau, and I'm going to call it 40. 40. Oh, it's me, George Peterson. I'm going to cry about 40. The voice, folks. I don't know. It's the voice. And then you keep getting older, but the crowd stay the same age. So, and I noticed this when Carl was in town. We went to the Stand in New York City, and I was the oldest person in the room by far. There was one guy who was there with his kids, who might have been in his 50s, and his kids were in their 30s. That was it. No, I don't think people my age are going out to support comedy. They're definitely not going out to support music that much. But it definitely feels weird, and maybe that's obviously a good thing. I mean, nobody wants a boomer. Nobody wants geezers to be your prime audience. If geezers are your prime audience, now we have money to spend. That's one good thing. Tip jars get filled when there's people of my age in the room. People have no problem throwing in a 50 or 100. Where if you get people in their 20s and 30s, you're lucky to get $2 if you get anything as tips. Um, so there's that. But in general, we don't have the energy to support you as fans. People my age, we're not the target audience for anybody. Feels weird in comedy clubs, which is, and I'll be going to several this week. Not just I have Sam Talent. Here's the deal. I don't pay attention enough. I bought a bunch of tickets to Sam Talent for he's got 2 shows Thursday night while Erica is at the Midnight Theater in Manhattan. Sam has 2 shows at Union Hall in Brooklyn. I bought what I thought I was buying 6 tickets for his early show and 2 for the evening show. And I thought I gave away the 2 for the evening show and 4 for the early show, planning on going to the early show and bringing a friend. Turns out I gave away all the early show tickets, and all I have is the late show tickets. So now I'm going into Brooklyn past my bedtime on a Thursday night. Again, I'm an old person. Not supposed to be out in Brooklyn at 11:30 midnight on a Thursday night. Just not supposed to. Supposed to be in for Jello at 8 p.m., right? Lights out, Jello. So I'm going to be out late Thursday night, then have I don't know if I'll skip the show Friday morning, then have the early show for Erica on Friday. I wanted that to be the other way around. Do the early show for Sam on Thursday and then the late show for Erica on Friday. That makes more sense. Doesn't it make more sense? But no, I don't pay close enough attention, gave stuff away, and now I've screwed myself. But that being what it is, I'm excited about going to see the 2 of them. And then April 1st, Saturday, Erica will be at Brokerage again. I'll be just down the block from there performing at Gotcha with the full band. And then after the band, going to see a friend's late show in Bohemia. So 3 comedy clubs in 3 days for me. That's a lot for an old dude like me. And like I know we got some younger people in the audience. How many of you, if you're not performing, have been to 3 comedy clubs to see 3 different people on 3 successive nights? How many of you? Come on, hands up. None, right? You bunch of Willy Wonka fans. What a bunch of Willy Wonka watching. Anyway. So that's where we are today, folks. Where are you? The chat room is open. The app is a little bit delayed. And it's my fault that it's delayed. Because, well, it's not my fault. It's Apple's fault. It's Apple's fault. My Apple developer account was under my name. And in order to share my Apple developer account with the folks at Live 365, it has to be under an organization's name. So I did the application to transfer it to Matt Media from just Matt Napo. But now it's got to go through an approval process. So there you go. Craig says I win. What I win, and now Craig is a active comedy fan. If he's saying I win about the 3 days and 3 shows in 3 days for 3 separate people in 3 different comedy clubs, I am. William says I am my family's April Fool's Day champion. Well, give us some stories, my friend. We have 5 minutes if you want to pop in, 10 minutes if you want to pop in and share your April Fool's big story. The biggest story that I shouldn't say we, because I really didn't have a big part in it, pulled off around here. Ralph, if you know Ralph, my friend, who is sometimes here, never been on the actual program, but on the phone, in the chat rooms. There was a picture of a shark in, I want to say, off the coast of Long Island, off the coast of Montauk, and somehow we photoshopped that picture into what looked like a real news story, and said it was the shark was actually in the bay, the Great South Bay. Now, if you know the Great South Bay, it's a swimming beach. It's a kiddie beach, and so we put that out there, and that got shared by, I want to say, 2 million people for a April Fool's joke. People didn't realize the date on the paper and all that stuff. That was the biggest prank we ever got away with. But his family's all-time April Fool's Day champion, William
That's right.
Conway, is in the room now.
No one in my family will take a call from me on April Fool's Day.
Do they ever forget?
Like that it's April Fool's Day?
Forget the date. Yeah, that's what happened with me with the Paul McCartney thing last year. I mean, obviously, you'd have to be pretty naive to think that Paul McCartney wants to talk to me in the first place. But a lot of people were buying it and forgot that they didn't notice the date said April 1st.
Right.
So,
What happened with me is, let's see. I was 22. So, God, I'm so bad at math.
Carl said, did you go to prison for April Fools?
No. So it was like 2001, and I had a buddy of mine call my parents' house and say that he was Sergeant so and so with the Sioux Falls Police Department, and that this is what did it, because this guy had so many details. He told them that like at 10:37 the night before, I was struck by a drunk driver while crossing the street. And like he said, like what time the ambulance got there, how long I was in surgery. And then eventually he tells them that I have internal bleeding that they cannot stop. And it's just a matter of time before I die. Right. And then he like says to me, he like covers the phone. He's like, you want to tell him April Fools? And I was like, no, in the call. And he's like, well, I'm sorry. There's not any other information that I have for you. And he hangs up the phone, right? He's like, I thought you were going to tell him April Fools. I said, I will. I just wanted to set in for a minute. Now, unbeknownst to me, there was, you know how families have like a surrogate family, you know, like, and, you know, people that are like your uncle, but he's not really your uncle. So that whole family was at my house at the time, and my grandma was there. So there's like a house full of 12 fucking people that are finding out that I'm dying, right? and so I call back from my phone, you know, because there's caller ID, you know, and I say, my dad, when he answers the phone, he's still relaying like some of the information that this officer has given him to like people in the room. He doesn't even say hello right away. He's still talking to them. And then finally, like he's out of it. Like he's in another fucking world right now. And finally he's Conway's. And I was like, Dad? And he goes, Will? And I was like, April Fools. And immediately he's just like, oh my God, how could you think this is funny? And then my mom in the background is like, is that him? That's him. I'm going to kill him, you know? And like, she's super pissed, right? And then, so this is what I said to Dad. I said, this is what she gets. This is what Mom gets for what she did to us. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, I remember when I was 7 years old, Mom sat all of us kids down and told us that she was going to prison, that in just a few days, some men were going to come and take her away, and we were going to have to grow up without her. Now, I just want to remind people that I grew up with a terrorizing pedophile father. So this prospect was fucking like unfathomable to me. Like this was the scariest thing you could have told me. It took me weeks to not like be afraid that my mom was going to be gone any day.
Did
I
she
was,
do that as a joke, or what was her
yeah, it was
motivation?
that was her April Fool's joke to us, us kids when I was 7. So that means my sister was 9, and that means that my brother was 12. So she sat down a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and told them all that she was going to go to prison. That was my mother's
I
idea of an April Fool's joke.
I
And
kind
so
of
now,
admire
all
your
these years
mother in that.
later, I make this call, and I explain that to Dad, that's why I did what I just did, right? And he goes, "Well, you better talk to your mother then." And so he puts Mom on the phone, and this is why I say I'm the April Fool's Day champion, because there's not a lot of times in life that you get a moment like this. So my mom gets on the phone. She's like, "How could you think this is funny? I'm a wreck right now, you know." And I said, and I explained to her what I explained to Dad. And my mom goes, "Well, you're right. I never should have done that to you. I'm sorry." And I was like, "Okay, well, now that you've apologized for fucking me up when I was a kid, we can have a regular conversation. How you doing?" You know, like, let's just.
Well, I'm snorting here. Uh, first of all, I think nobody has a mother that cool. I think that's a good thing to have a mother who's a prankster like that. To me, I would have
Yeah.
enjoyed that. See, my thing was I came home from school and my parents really were in jail.
Oh man, yeah, right, yeah.
So, uh, yeah, and to me, at the time coming home to that, there are a lot of things like goes through a 13, 14-year-old kid's head at that time. I was 13. But there was some positive ideas about, hey, this could be pretty cool. No parents, parents are in jail. How do we work this in our favor? We
Oh
get to
yeah.
we get to keep the house. So there's that. But good. Now, I think not to one up you. I always one up you. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I don't mind that.
It wasn't April Fool's, but I was working at a gas station overnight, and my buddies came in, and there's a Jack in the Box right across the way. My buddy one of them was a weed dealer, and he had a pound of weed in his coat I did not know about. And there was a Jack in the Box across the way, and they went there, and they want to know they were going to get me some food, and they were going to come back, and I could see them standing online at Jack in the Box, and I'm like, what the fuck is taking so long? Oh, there goes the third F-bomb for me. And so I just decided I'm going to call the Jack in the Box and prank them. And I called the manager and I said, in the most ridiculous put on Cheech and Chong voice, hey, listen to me. There are people at the counter. The one with the red jacket has a machine gun. The other one with the denim jacket, he has a bag full of hand grenades. Do not sell these men. They are very dangerous men. And I'm watching, and now it's taken forever for the food to come. And like 45 minutes into this, they're still standing at the counter. And I could see them both going like, what the fuck is going on? And I see cops pulling into the parking lot, and they're surrounding the building, and the SWAT team is getting up on top of the building. And I see the cops going in, and the cops get online behind my friends, like they're nonchalant there. And the guys are like, and this guy's got a pound of weed in his coat, and I did not know about it. And all of a sudden, I see the cops throwing him up against the wall and frisking him and stuff. And then they're questioning him, and they're looking over and seeing me laugh. And the cops are asking him, now, do you know anybody who would want to pull a joke like this on you? They did not turn me in, but that's not exactly something you want to encourage in young people.
Did they take dude's weed?
No, they gave that was the thing. They didn't keep his weed too. They found the weed on him. They did the search on him, found it, but because I think they felt bad for him because they made him shit his pants or whatever. They let him keep the weed, and that in those days, a pound of weed was a serious offense.
Right? Yeah. No, that I'm surprised about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, one time at the same gas station, a guy got out to fill up his car.
Going a dog in. Oh yeah.
Hang on one second.
You gotta get off. You can go.
Yeah, I probably should. Erica's going to show up here.
Erica's
right?
going to show up any minute now, hopefully.
Oh, okay.
That
Well,
would suck if she didn't. She overslept. But all right. Have a good day.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sorry. I just don't because I can't.
No. You're stuttering.
That happens.
You're under arrest.
Oh my God.
All
Not
right.
again.
Get out. See you later. William Conway out in the I don't know. That wasn't Danica busting his chops, was it? Because he's still I thought he's still in South Dakota. I'm stuttering, or North Dakota, Fargo. Anyway, we are expecting Erica Rhodes to pop in momentarily, unless she's still sleeping. Could happen. Oh, I set my alarm. I set my alarm. So in the meantime, I guess we will revert back to weird and wacky news. Weird and wacky. Greenland is to stay in daylight savings time forever. I think every place should stay in daylight saving time forever. Why do we, at this point, 2023, why do we feel the need to keep moving clocks back and forward and back? Just keep it set. Um, for the record, for people who don't know this, when I was probably a teen, I think it was when I was a teenager, sometime in the 1970s, we experimented with keeping daylight saving time. They were concerned that kids were going to school in the darkness, and which is why we got off of staying on daylight saving time. That was a great experiment. Going to the school bus in darkness, going to the bus stop in darkness. But I don't know about, and maybe it's not this way everywhere in the world or everywhere in America. We don't have bus stops anymore. We have the bus stops at every friggin' kid's house, like it's a taxi cab. They basically stopped in front of the house, and the parent's mother usually walks the kid out to the bus. It's really frustrating if you're stuck behind one of these. So, there are no buses anymore. So there's no excuse now to be going back and forth between daylight saving time and standard time. Let's just stay on daylight savings time. I'm down with that. Are you down with that? You know what would be really weird, because Craig Johnson has worked this show, promoting Erica was going to be here very, very hard. Harder than as hard as he does at Billy Wayne Davis show in, say, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was just going to say, maybe it would be a little bit weird if she didn't show up after Craig basically has spent his entire weekend promoting this thing like it was the biggest thing that ever happened in Craig's life, and I appreciate that. But just as I say that, I heard a little pop in the back room that says somebody's in the green room, and I wonder who it is. Yesterday on Twitter, on YouTube, somebody on the promo for this show, somebody said, I love Erica. She's so funny. She should have her own Seinfeld like sitcom. And I was like, well, where did you get that idea from? Let me back up a little bit. About a week ago, a guy approached me he's an author, and he was looking for help pitching his books to film producers and television producers. Good stories, and the guy's done some films before. But I said to him, listen, I don't know anything about pitching a show to network executives or to streaming service executives. I don't know how to pitch a show. If I could pitch a show, here's the pitch I would give them. Network sitcoms are probably a dinosaur. They're probably going to be extinct, but there is room for one great last shot at a sitcom. And you have two examples of the most killer sitcoms of the last, and I'm going to date myself, half century or more. One that comes to mind is Mary Tyler Moore, who was a woman in her 30s, single, making it in a man's world, and really, in that time, network news or local news, was very much a man's world, and she was fighting her way to make a career as a single woman in her 30s. And it was all about that. And the other great sitcom is about a comedian, full-time comedian, and talking about Seinfeld, and his relationship around his personal life with his close friends away from the comedy stuff, but the comedy stuff was all included in there. You got a perfect sitcom opportunity. And this is obviously not a great pitch. This is why I can't pitch for this guy in his books. But in Erica Rhodes, the fabulous Erica Rhodes, who is one of the funniest comedians and one of my favorite comedians. And I've been stalking her for a year to get her on the program. She's here now, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome the fabulous sleepy Erica Rhodes. How are you?
How'd you know I was sleepy?
Because I stalk you on Twitter, and you said like 2 hours ago or 3 hours ago, it said, "Why am I always awake when I should be sleeping and sleeping when I should be awake?" So I figured you.
Yeah, I pretty much didn't sleep much at all.
Well, let's start here.
Yeah.
New York has palm trees and smoothies, and we've had less snow than LA this year, and we haven't had any tornadoes or earthquakes. How about that?
Where are the palm trees?
We have palm trees. You just got to come out here. Long Island has palm trees, and Fire Island has palm trees.
Really?
Yeah.
I
don't know how they stay alive in the winter, because we've had them for 15 years now, and this has been a mild winter. But they've been there, and they don't die in this climate. Turns out palm trees are not always just.
I've never seen a palm tree. I've been to Long Island.
Have you been to Fire Island?
Maybe not.
Well, and actually in Lindenhurst and in the Hamptons, they have palm trees, but they're beach clubs.
Yeah.
I think they obviously import the palm trees to make it. You're drinking coffee. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's
the only way I can do this.
Oh, well, you've talked about your love for coffee once, like 3 years ago, and then you never expressed it again. And I was like, man, or do you drink your own coffee? Do you make coffee, or do you buy designer coffee, Starbucks coffee?
I do both. I mean, I make coffee and then I need coffee in the middle of the day and don't want to make it again. So then I buy it.
Now, I could never. Have you ever tried Koa Coffee?
Cola coffee?
Koa Coffee. It's our sponsor today.
Oh.
Koa Coffee is Hawaiian coffee grown on the slopes of the Mauna Loa volcano, hand-picked and delivered direct to your door with aloha. And I don't know what that means.
Wow, what a nice segue to this sponsor.
Well, that's why when I saw you drinking coffee, I had to make it about that, so I don't have to play the spot all over again. But yeah, so with aloha, you've been to Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
What does with aloha mean? I thought aloha was hello and goodbye, but it says it delivers directly to your door with aloha. Does aloha have another meaning?
With a hello?
Hello, here's your coffee.
Aloha. Aloha and some coffee to go with it.
Yeah, I guess that
I
works.
don't know what. Maybe aloha has another meaning to it.
Now, is there some confusion with you this week? You're here performing this week, right? And you had some shows last week that were like not scheduled or something? Friday night, just something that came up? No? Somebody was advertising a show for you Friday night. A late night thing.
Did I do it? What was confusing about it?
No, that's not what's confusing about it. But what was confusing about it, I said late night show Friday night. Oh, wait, I have my weeks mixed up because I thought.
Oh, you got mixed up.
Yes, I did.
You said you're not performing Thursday. Oh, you
No,
you said it's the weekend. You said I said I'm performing next weekend. You said technically it's Thursday.
Yeah. No, I thought there was some confusion about Thursday. Don't listen to me. I don't know how to speak. Just the mouth is not connected to any brain anywhere. I thought there was on the show on Midnight Theaters listing for Thursday night, there were 2 shows listed, 7:15 show and a late show. And I said I could swear she's just saying that there's just only 1 show Thursday and a 7:15 show.
Well, there were going to be 2, but the second was not selling as quickly, so we just decided to consolidate just in case. I think we could have sold both, but yeah, we just played it safe.
Do you like theater shows better than club shows?
Well, Midnight Theater is sort of a middle tier. It's like in the middle. It still feels a bit clubby. It's a small theater, so
Yeah, I was looking at it. It looked nice. Like you can
yeah,
pick your seats. Like
yeah.
comedy club, you can never pick your seats.
That's true. It's like it's a cool middle, like it's not a huge theater, but it's also not a small club. It's like right in the middle, so it's perfect for me. I
Right.
loved it. I did a showcase there for the New York Comedy Club, New York Comedy Festival a couple months ago, and I loved it. They run it really well, and it's like really beautiful and classy, and yeah.
That's cool. Now, do you because JT Haberstadt was talking to me about, and William Conway, who's my friend, who's competing. We were talking about the camaraderie of going on the road with somebody and being, not necessarily a team, but just sharing the experience. And I know lots of guys who do that. The road warrior comics who are on the road, sometimes in the cars. You seem to be more solitary, flying from city to city by yourself. And it seems to me, I can't think of any female comics that I know that do that, but lots of guys do that. Is that just a guy thing? This Butch Cassidy and Sundance thing, kid type of comedian on the road.
You mean where they go with somebody?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because I can't always pick my openers, like some of them are a little bit ahead of me, so they're able to like pick their own openers and everything.
Right.
But not every club puts up my openers. Some of them do, but I've been having my friend Bobby Jaycox a lot recently. He's been featuring for me, and it makes such a difference. It's so nice to have him when he gets to open for me, because he's so helpful, and he's such a positive person, and so that's been helping a lot. But yeah, I can't always have him.
So now this weekend you have the Midnight Theater Thursday, then you have the Brokerage on Friday. I will be at the one of those shows, the early show.
Oh, I'm excited that you can come.
Actually, I've got so confused. I wanted to go to the late show at Brokerage, and because the night before I thought I was going to be at the early show for Sam Talent. I'm going to be at the late show for him, and then the early show for you. I got it all backwards. But so 2 shows on Friday and 2 shows on Saturday. You 5 shows in 3 days.
Is it 2 shows at Brokerage, or is it just 1?
I thought it was 2.
That needs to be. There's 2 E's on the.
Listen, don't anybody. I think you pointed out last night that I confuse your fans. Don't anybody listen to me. The links are in the bottom there, and the links are in the description. Click on them, and then find out.
I don't even know if I have 2 shows or not. I mean, I'm gonna look it up.
Yikes!
No.
Did I just cause trouble?
No, it's fine. I don't know. I think it's just 1 show each night.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, I think it's 1 show. Wait. Okay, so an early show on Friday and a later show on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now Brokerage. You've played there before? You've performed?
Yeah, it's one of the first clubs that headlined me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a very intimate club. My memories of it. I've played there a couple of times before you were born. But my memories of it as being a very intimate jazz club. Do you get that vibe from it? Like it was a jazz club before it was a comedy club, but very close people, like right there.
Yeah, I guess they are pretty close now that you mention it. They're right kind of on the side like that.
Right.
And I think one time I did it, and I ended up doing a lot more crowd work than expected because it was so intimate.
Wow. I like that. Do you like that?
I have sort of a love-hate thing with crowd work. I like it. I like it if it feels like it has a purpose, you know. I don't like just meandery. Sometimes I get into meandery crowd work and then you feel trapped and you're like, how am I going to get out of this? But I like quick crowd. I like if it comes naturally, and I like if it feels like we found something new.
Right.
Not like the whole, I can't stand these videos of like, where are you from? How are you doing? How long have you guys been together? Like, oh my God, stop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear that, and I think sometimes you what it feels like to me is comedians are searching for where do I go next, and this is just a like a word an are we saying while I think
Yeah.
of what I'm going to say next, and then they get themselves into this. Oh, I shouldn't have even bothered going there. I shouldn't have said hello to that person. I've invited them to become part of the show, and that person becomes empowered to thinking they are a performer now, and I'm just going to continue the
Yeah.
conversation.
I mean, I definitely have a rule where I try not to do any crowd work for at least 30 minutes, you know, like so that if you do it too soon, then they really expect it. So I
Yeah.
try to make a rule like get into your act, do your jokes, and if you're in trouble or if you feel like if you're losing them, then do some crowd work.
Yeah. Do
But
you this is a tough question for me to ask for comedians all the time. Is this a life for you? Like, do you see yourself being
it's
my
just so
age?
life.
Do you see yourself being my age and still doing stand-up comedy?
I mean, I think I'll always do stand up, yeah. But I don't know if like I don't know, the road can get a little exhausting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I wouldn't mind being able to take breaks, you know. But I don't know. I don't think I will ever quit stand up. I think
Well,
I'll
I
do it.
ask that of you, especially because, and people think I'm like falsely complimentary here, but you have a world of different talents, writing and performing, acting and music and all this kind of stuff. So it tends to make me think that you have to have a really strong passion for the craft of stand up to stick with it and do it because you have other things you could be doing and still be creative, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't. I mean, I did. Acting is not in your control. You know, it's like if you get a part, you do it. But I'm not like at a place in my career where people are just offering me parts all the time.
No, I don't think so. That's just with the pitch thing. And this is the thing that the guy who wrote me, he's
No,
got a,
I don't think
he
so.
wants me to pitch his books for movies and films, and I was like, and maybe this is not something you want. I have a tendency to pitch things for people that they don't have any interest in. But it seemed to me like a sitcom would be that perfect vehicle for you that allows you not to, do the road thing, which I know the road can get to be a drag. I mean, there's loneliness, there's, not necessarily the most healthy situations for you.
Yeah.
All of that combined, so.
But
Do you
sitcoms are kind of dead. Like
right?
people keep saying you would be great in a sitcom, and I even have this really great acting coach now. His name's John Kirby, and I just love him. And he was like, "You should be in a sitcom." He's like, "If this was 20 years ago, you would have been a sitcom like that, you know." And he's like, "You'll get something," but he was like, "But there aren't really sitcoms now."
I
So
think there's room for one. I do agree that they are dying. They're a dying
yeah.
breed, but I think there's room for one more great one before the whole thing just goes to hell.
Yeah, I mean, I have an idea that I really believe in, and so I'm working on that with my manager right now. And he's having me do like the character breakdowns, which is taking forever. I didn't realize how tedious that was doing just like, I mean, that should be fun to do character breakdown, but like for instance, I just wrote my character down, and I have two managers, and the younger one was like he's really great, but he was like, yeah, I feel like you're like doing the perspective that like your character is like really great, and like I think you should talk about her flaws more. And it's like basically about myself, you know. And I was like, well, but she, and so I was seeing it too much from her point of view. From my point of view, as myself, being like, no, she's really like, and he's like, well, I mean, she's kind of judgmental, and I was like, no, she's not.
Well, that is, yeah, I could see. So that's the point where you have to actually play it off like she's a completely fictional character, like she has nothing.
True. Yeah. Well, he actually suggested I change the name because of that, and so I think I'm going to change her name so that it's more fictionalized.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now,
I'm working on that, and I do actually really. It's finally a show I believe in. I've pitched shows before where I'm like, oh, there's something off about it, or it feels pandering. But this concept, I'm like, I really believe in it. So who knows?
so yeah, but who knows though? Who knows? Part of it is the pitch part, and if you could,
Yeah.
if anybody could figure that out, because there are lots of good ideas, but Hollywood seems to want to make or remake garbage, and always wants to take the easy way out. They don't want to listen to good ideas anymore at
Well,
all.
I don't know what Hollywood is anymore. You know what I mean? Like we don't even know what is Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood is now people doing podcasts in their garage. This is
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Well, actually, this was my garage at one point. So, yes, I am in Hollywood. Welcome to Hollywood,
How,
folks.
how do we fix my name so that
I know. I just noticed that myself.
it has two E's?
I know.
Erica.
I'm working on it. Uh,
I mean, it doesn't bother me, but
see, Erica. No, that's somebody else. It's I'm telling them to see Erica's show.
yeah.
There you go. So,
My mom calls me my parents used to call me Eureka.
oh, your mom is adorable, by the way. You were doing videos on Instagram with your mom for a while. And
Yeah, and it's been in high demand. I guess we'll do another one soon because people just keep asking for it. So
I love the way she says your name. And she likes saying your name, which means she's very pleased with herself for naming you that.
well, my parents almost called me April Ann. That was my name was going to be April Ann because I was born in April. And then my dad told me I was born without a chin. And so when he goes, when you came out, you weren't in April. We looked at you and it was like, no. So we named you Erica.
Oh. Well, that's a weird naming story. Something I observed, and I don't think you're old enough to experience this yet, although one of your bits kind of it seems to indicate that you might be. When I first started performing, I was 15 years old, and the crowds were 15 years old. When I was in my 20s, the crowds were 20. When I was in my 30s, the crowds were 30. And when I got to 40, they were 40, and then they stopped getting older, and I kept getting older, and the crowd stayed 40. And as I got older, the crowd is still 40. There are a few people, old people, cougars, who still come to see me, but I go out performing. This summer, we will be playing to thousands of 35, 40 something. The crowds don't get older. Have you hit that yet where is your audience grown with you? Have you seen them aging with you and going through the process with you, or do they stay younger and you're still getting older?
I can't really pinpoint what my crowds are yet. Like I feel like I'm still building my fan base. And I was
Really?
like, yeah, I don't really have my fan base yet. I've got some people that are hardcore fans, but I wouldn't say that I know what my crowd is yet.
Right. But that
I seem to have an older crowd because they're pretty smart and I think they're a little bit older than normal.
older than normal, because this was one of the things I noticed. I was at the Stand 2 weeks ago in New York City, and I was the oldest person in the room by a long shot. I mean, there was one guy who was maybe in his early 50s who had kids that were probably in their 30s, and he was there because his kids were in town. But other than him, I was, he was.
Well, that's what I think. It depends on where you are. Like the club it determines more the age than I do in some places. Like the road tends to be older, and then New York, it's like I just did some shows at this place called Sesh Comedy.
Right.
The youngest crowds I've done, and I loved it. Oh my God, it gave me hope. I was like, oh, the young people do have a good sense of humor. They like dark material, you know, they get it. I loved it. They were really young. They were like 20.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought they were like the coolest.
Yeah,
And
no,
when I went to town, I went and did a set at New York Comedy Club, and they were a little bit older and a little stiffer.
I don't like the way Gen X, and this is weird, this generational thing that we have going on here, where it's always been this way. Like, uh, as you get older, these kids don't know anything anymore. But as a boomer, I see people younger than me, Gen X people, having that attitude towards the younger generation. I am in awe of I don't know what they are, you know, generation now, whatever they are now, but the 20-year-olds, and the people, teens to 25, they really surprise me with how much they have, are on the ball about things, and really the future looks bright to me as
Oh
far as
yeah. I feel like the millennials are like, I feel like my generation is the problematic generation. We're the most addicted to technology, I think. And I think the generation below, they grew up with it, and so to them it's kind of boring, and they use it, but it feels like they're kind of they're like not as obsessed with it. And I
right,
feel like my generation feels like the most obsessed with social media, the most obsessed with like getting, somehow having their job be mixed in with social media and everything. And then the next generation, they just feel, I don't know, they felt more present to me, which is weird.
right.
Yeah,
Uh,
they lack social skills sometimes. If you talk to them, they kind of don't make eye contact, and they kind of look past you, and kind of like, they always seem a little like loopy.
yeah, no, I get that. Speaking of social media, I'm going to bring up a name. If this name causes a trigger in anybody, just ignore it. But Louis C.K. was talking about social media and saying how he doesn't use it and doesn't think comedians need to use it at all. And I had first of all, I love that, hearing that, but then I thought about it and I thought, well, that's easy to say if you're a boomer who's established his career 30 years ago before it was there, and you have that name recognition. But I do think you have to be on it to a certain degree now. But here's where the question comes in. You A few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, you were questioning whether Twitter was effective for you in promoting.
I was mad at Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mad.
but with Sad Lemon, and this is a good thing, so you put out Sad Lemon on YouTube, and I
Yeah.
think Twitter had a lot to do with that getting like massive numbers in a short period of time. So have you reconsidered the effectiveness of Twitter for your
Well,
career?
so my problem with Twitter is that I have all these fans that supposedly support me, you know, and they tweet at me, and I put out free jokes and free blah and free everything. And then it doesn't feel like they're buying tickets to my shows. You know, like it's not translating to ticket sales. And I don't understand what it is. I'm like, is it because they're getting too much of me? Are they like, oh, I'll just like log in and I can see Erica say something funny, and I don't have to go see her at a show. And so I was getting mad. And then also it wasn't transferring to Instagram. And I'm like, okay, I have 100,000 followers supposedly on Twitter. Why will they not follow me on Instagram, where all the clubs look at those numbers and all the bookers look at those numbers? And even when I plead for people to follow me on Instagram, they won't do it, you know? So then I had to threaten. I was like, fine, I'm leaving Twitter. And then I got like a flurry of followers. I was like, okay, that kind of worked.
I know. I love when people say, "Please don't go, we'll miss you." She has a website, for crying out loud, and they could come to your shows. But here's the I think this is why you don't see it, because Twitter is worldwide, and there are people in Oshkosh, wherever, East Bumfuck, New York, wherever. They're in places that don't have the comedy club. So if I have to drive 6 hours to see you, I love you, but I'm not driving 6 hours to see you.
Yeah, yeah, no.
And so of the places that you play, they're not necessarily where those Twitter people are. That's
Well, I
why.
also don't know who's seeing what. Like, it's like the algorithm or whatever is so unpredictable. And it's almost like you have to be an avid fan to see my posts or something. Like, I don't know if everybody that follows me is seeing my posts.
Yeah, no. When Elon first took over, I stopped seeing yours and a bunch of other comedians that I knew I followed, and it wasn't until I actually had to go, like, seek you out, go to your page, comment on something till it started showing me your tweets again. And that's same with Norman, same with a bunch of people. I'm not sure if they did that on purpose or that was by design, and I can't imagine what the goal would be to do, because if I'm going to be sticky there, if I'm going to stay there and watch enough of their advertising, I showing me the people that I enjoy reading would be the way to get me to stay there. It doesn't seem to be a good business model, but I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I have
It's
no idea. I have no idea what works and what doesn't work. It's just that if I have 100,000 followers and I'm still having trouble filling, 200 seats, it's like what's happening here?
Yeah. Now some people have social media people actually working for them.
Yes, and I don't have that kind of budget yet to have that.
You, I'm not going to pitch business here. I was going to say it's not that expensive. I run a company that actually does that for people.
Nothing's expensive if you have the money.
No, that's true. Nothing is expensive if you have the cash.
Yeah.
You also, besides from headlining your own shows, you have opened up for some very big names. Is there any challenge to opening up for somebody whose comedy is very, very different than you? I know you opened up for Stanhope, and Stanhope, I love that Doug. He is very different from you, and his crowd doesn't seem to be like that. This is the perfect crowd for you. It seems to be a crowd that is really, really interested in getting hammered, interested in getting a little bit rowdy. Is that a challenge for you, opening up for people who are so different than you?
I mean, I guess it was because there was like a fight that broke out when I opened for Doug. He won't let it go. Every time I hear him like mention me, he's like, "Yeah, there was a fight," and she was just like, "Oh, look, a fight."
So wait, the fight was because of you?
Well, it wasn't because of me. It's just that they were just rowdy, and it was at the
That's
end
his
of my set.
crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, I mean, I know you've opened up for other people too who are less antagonistic towards their audiences, or whatever you
Yeah.
want, however you want to face.
Yeah,
But
like
it's just,
when I opened for Tom Papa, it was a pretty good fit. It's like his audiences are very well behaved and they listen and everything. But I mean, I enjoyed the shows with Doug. I thought it was fun. And I also kind of went like I adjusted my set a bit. Like I was a little bit edgier. Like I think I opened with something I would never normally open with, just because I was like, I have to grab them right away or
yeah,
they're gonna zone out. So
yeah, I could,
I try to adjust it a little bit, like obviously not change my act or anything, but I just like knew I had to grab them right away.
do you adjust for different cities
Um,
or different
maybe,
areas of the country?
yeah, I mean, well, I just know that I can work on certain things more in certain places. Like right now in New York, I'm just like really working on the darkest stuff I have, because they like edgier.
Are they New Yorkers that are coming to see you, or are they tourists? Because when I go to comedy clubs here, it's not local people. It's people who are visiting here.
Yeah, I don't really know yet because I haven't done it. I haven't been headlining yet. I've been doing like little spots around the city, so I don't know if they're there to see me really. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. It'll be interesting when I do the midnight show Thursday to see who comes to that.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could be there, but
Yeah, I think we're gonna sell out because there's only like I don't know 20 seats left.
yeah.
So if you're
Yeah. Well, there's going to be, and unless you get there's because I'm looking at the seating chart. There's a place
Yeah.
in the balcony where you can only buy one seat in the middle of a bunch of strangers. That's
Yeah,
the
I'm sure it's more spread out than it looks there. Like I think it's like I don't think that's a balcony. I think it's like those like a single chairs,
right.
like, but I think all the seats are good in that theater.
That's the problem with assigned seating, though, is if they leave one seat in a row of three people that are going together, and now if, I gotta sit with a bunch of people who are there
But
together, and
I
I'm
think they're pretty spread out. I don't think you're not like at a table with them. It's like
oh, the seating chart makes it seem like you're like on their lap or in a booth with
yeah.
them.
No, yeah, I don't think it's well, maybe there are a couple booths, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We have something in common. Um, I played cello in orchestra in university
Oh,
for about 6 weeks till they kicked me out. First, they begged me to do it, and then they begged me not to do it. But with the because of my experience doing it, I played cello in junior high school and high school, and when
mhm.
I was playing bass with the band, and then the cello player died, and
Oh my
they
god.
was there was another cello player. There were two cellists in the orchestra at the time, but they knew I played, and they said for some reason the conductor had to have two. But my knowing orchestra conductors, and they don't like people who are making jokes all the time and being funny. They want people to be
Don't.
uh
I thought they liked that. No, maybe not.
how was it for you? Because you seem to be always your mind always seems to be working on the next joke. As a cellist in an orchestra, did you have that cause conflict with the group by being funny?
No, but I did. I just no, but I was always in the back of the section because I was very bad at reading music. Like so I kind of would I would kind of like fake play until I picked it up in my ear, And so sometimes the conductor would then be like, I want to hear the cello section, and that would terrify me. It was like, I dreaded the moment where they'd be like, I just want to hear, let's go stand. Sometimes they'd go stand by stand. And to me, that was like the worst nightmare. Because if I didn't know it yet, I would have to fake play. And then you can tell I'm fake playing.
That's another thing we have in common because by the time they asked me to do it, my sight reading skills had eroded to really poor. And then, if I didn't have it rehearsed, it would stand out. But
I did
basically,
have a funny line when I auditioned for the Royal Academy when I was in high school, and I was auditioning for different conservatories, and they had me sight read something from a Brahms symphony, and I just butchered it. Like I had no idea. And then afterwards, they go, "Have you heard that piece?" And I said, "I guess not." Like I apparently not.